This is a quick and easy way to compile your photos in Photoshop. Um, so I would make a video from two different angles if you haven't done that already. But then you can go to Import, Video Frames to Layers. So go to where your video is stored. This is my video. I grabbed it from the internet, so the quality is not the best, but that's okay. And I hit open. And so range to import. So you can do from beginning to end, or you can do selected range only. Now this video has some other weird things in it. So I'm going to crop it down. So take this slider and just move it down. Let's see, so the horse starts here, and I want to do at least one revolution. Okay, and ends there. So I think that's about where I want my video to be. And then you can say limit to every 2 frames, you could say every 3 frames, depending on how fast or slow your action is. I think should help you figure out how many frames per per layer. And I'm going to just go with 2 for now, but you can always come back and redo this. Okay, and then you see all of these different layers. Also, I would, if your layers are still down here, I would click and drag layers, put it on your toolbar here, so that way, instead of this tiny little thing, you can pull it all the way down and you can see all of your layers. And I would also, I'm going to hold shift and click and make a group out of them. I'm going to call this original stills. Okay, and I'm going to also turn them all on by clicking and dragging along the eyeball. Okay, and then going to grab all of these guys, right? And going to change the opacity. You can start to see them build up on each other, right? So the other thing that I would say is you want to check the image size after you first open this, because you want your width to be about 18 inches. And if this doesn't say inches, if it says pixels or something, just come into this drop down and change it. You'll also want it to be 300 pixels per inch. Now, granted, hopefully your resolution is higher than this, but again, in video from the internet, so it's not the best resolution. I'm going to hit cancel because if I hit OK, we'll sit here for a little while. This is fine for my purposes, but for you guys, at least have your width or your height at 18 inches, 300 pixels per inch. All right, hit cancel. All right, so now I have these all with an opacity, and I'm also going to give it a layer mask. Is that what these guys are called? Half moon layer. Anyway, so you can just grab this and go to black and white. You see how this just changed to black and white, and over here in the properties you can change how dark or light different hues are. Okay, so the other thing is that I'm seeing the checkerboard in the background. That just means there's nothing there, right? So I'm going to, that won't save out, but just for viewing purposes, I'm also going to do a solid color, and I'm going to make it white, and I'm going to pull this to the back so I can get a better understanding of what this might actually look like. Okay, now I'm going to first of all save this, and I have made several versions of this, so I'm just going to call this 240115, assignment 1, horse running. We'll call this compilation. Okay. And then the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do is save a copy. And I'm going to save this as a JPEG. Of course, running. And I want to make sure this is on maximum and it's the largest file size. Okay. All right. When you save a JPEG, it'll just flatten everything, which is great. Okay. So now I'm also going to duplicate this. I'm going to turn off my original stills. And I'm going to say stills alt 1. Okay. You don't have to make a copy for each version that you try. You can make just adjustments and then leave it there. I just like to test out some different things, and I like being able to go back. It is helpful to delete out what you don't use, so that you don't make a big mess of things. Yeah. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all of these guys, and we are at 13%. I'm going to change that to 71, and then I'm going to change the blending layer, and that's here. So right now it's normal. I could do dissolve. I could do darken, and you can click each one of these. However, the nice thing about Photoshop is that you can click on this here, and if you hover your mouse on darken, you can just scroll through the different options. Right? I'm just scrolling just to see what looks nice. And most of these aren't really working. Hard light, that's working. Vivid light, pin light. And all of these will look different depending on how the opacity, right? So I don't, it's up to you how you want to overlay these. But there should be some sense that you can see a figure moving. Again, I don't care how you put those together, but this is some options that you have. Another option, so I'm going to do darken. And another thing you can play with is say, okay, maybe I want these actually to be lighter because they're in time, they are further away from the first still, I'm going to call this, even though it's 30, I'm going to call that the end. These I can make maybe a little bit lighter. These I can make even lighter, maybe 30. I can make a little bit darker. These I can make darker still. And then I can even choose one to make 100%. And that doesn't really, maybe I go through and I lighten more of them. Maybe I come back and I change this to like a multiply, you can play with the variation of different opacities and blending layers. The other thing that you can do is I can make a copy of this layer 29. I can pull it above my black and white. I'm just going to turn everything else off. I can go to my object selection tool, and so you can also use your wand tool for this. Essentially what you want to do is select the background, but I'm going to do the object selection tool, and I'm going to select this guy, and I'm going to hold down shift. You see that little plus sign that shows up? I'm going to select both of these guys, and then I'm going to do a Control C and then a Control V. You'll notice that that it pasted in the exact same spot but it made a whole new layer, and you can see what's transparent based on the checkers behind it. I'm going to turn the color fill back on, and then if you double click on this layer, you can do a color overlay on this. Right, you can change the color, or you can, I don't know, I like red, so fine. And this is, if it did it normal, that would be normal. but I kind of like the multiply. You can make it less opaque, more opaque, etc. Okay, and then if I turn my stills on, you can see the horse, and you can also see the motion behind it. Right, so I'm highlighting one moment and then also seeing what's behind it as well. You do not have to do this. It's just a way of playing with some of your layers. The other thing you could do is say, I just want to showcase his feet in red. I just selected these, and then I'm going to do Shift-Control-I, which selects the inverse, and then you can hit delete. And look, now I just see his feet. Why is this helpful? I mean, it depends on what you want to trace. You don't have to do any of this now. You can get to that moving forward. And yeah, I don't know. So I just want you to play around with overlaying these things and then maybe adding an introduction of color if you want to. You could also take this whole thing and bring it into Illustrator and add to it. Again, we're going to do some of that analysis in class on Wednesday. Yeah, it would be great if you had your stills and then a compiled image. And then the other thing that I would say is that you can take your stills. I'm going to grab every 4. So I'm just holding down Control and clicking in this gray area, not on the layer name, not on the little thumbnail image. Okay, and then I'm going to right click and I'm going to say Quick Export PNG. You could also do Export As, but do this. Quick Export PNG. So this is assignment 1 stills, so I'm going to select that folder. And one second. So you can see here that this has exported now for me my PNGs, my still PNGs. So they're different opacities. You can kind of see because of the fact that they were different opacities in Photoshop. I actually kind of like that, but it's not necessary. You could do full images, you could do color images. And then we can also just pop all of this into Miro. So just gonna turn that guy back on, do a file, save a copy, and I will save this as a JPEG. I'm going to call this, so if I select this, and it automatically names it that in the file name, so I don't have to retype it. I can just change this to 2, hit save. Again, make sure it's extra large, okay. And then we're going to go quickly over to Miro.